Hey guys, so I thought I'd come in and give you a quick update on my project pen on the Sublime palette from McGrath. I'm not going to do the long introduction on what exactly this project pen entails because I've already done like a whole video explaining it, so I'm going to leave that up in the cards here if you would like to check it out. But in a nutshell, I've joined a project that was started originally by Karen Harris, Melissa Gold and Kat from Rented Fashion, which involves penning a McGrath palette. Simple as that. The project was started by the three ladies, I want to say either in September or in the beginning of October, and I joined in a couple of weeks later. I've basically given myself from mid-October 2018 until mid-October 2019 to see how much damage I can inflict on my McGrath Sublime palette. So this is going to be my first update, just to let you know how things are going, to show you the progress on the eyeshadows and just give you a few general thoughts that I've had in the process. So first, let me start off by saying that even though I'm penning this palette and this entails that I have to feel obliged to use it more often, I do use it more often, but I do still very much enjoy it and I don't feel like it's an obligation for me to do looks with it. So I'm happy to say that so far I haven't been bored with the palette. I haven't felt like, oh crap, I have to do a look with this palette. Not at all. I've really just been enjoying using it. I'm currently filming a Project 5 wears with it, so you are going to at some point in the coming months see a video where I do 5 different looks with this palette. It's not going to be in the form of a tutorial, but more like I use these shades, I did this, I did that, this is where I applied this and that, so on and so forth. But I'm digressing, so let's talk about the actual damage that I've inflicted on the palette so far. Let me just show you how she looks like up close and personal as of now. So this is how she looks like right now. And if you ask me, if I look at the palette, I can definitely see that there's been use and there's some tear and wear already, and especially with some of the eyeshadows I can even see little dips in them. Don't forget, I've only had this eyeshadow since the end of September, so I've only really been using it more or less from the start of this project pen. I think before I started the project pen I had used the palette several times, but not much more than that. So all you see is damage that I've inflicted since October 2015. 2015? I'm stuck in the past. Since October 2018. So, some general thoughts. I can already tell you right off the bat, I am never ever going to pen the black shade over here. I know the whole purpose of it is to be used as a base for some of these topper shades to make them a little bit more smoky, but that being said, I don't like black eyeshadows. I'm probably going to use it a couple of times to deepen up some looks, but I'm definitely not going to pen it. Not in a million years. Given that these are the only two mattes in the palette, obviously I'm going to be reaching quite often for this brown here as like a transition shade, as a deepening shade, as a base for some of the other eyeshadows. I use these three shades here quite often. So these are the purpley aubergine type of shade, the browny taupey shade and the orangey bronze shade. The interesting thing about these three shadows is that they are shimmers, but they have a very like smooth and satin formula to them. I wouldn't call them like a metallic foiled finish, but rather a satin finish. And because of that, and because of Pat's incredibly superior formula, you can actually use these eyeshadows as transitions, because if you look at them, they're all very much in the mid-tone range, so they're very easy to use as transitions in your crease. And they won't look crazy, they won't emphasize imperfections on your eyelids, or at least I haven't had that experience. So because I use these shades on my lids and as transition shades, I think I'm going to be able to do quite a lot of damage on these. Now, the topper shades. I use this green quite often because it is one of the reasons that I bought this palette. It is an absolutely beautiful, like a duochrome, smoky, like dark purple, black, green duochrome. I really like this shade here, the metallic bronze shade, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really use these types of shades very often, so I'm not really sure how much pen I can hit on this shade in particular. I am almost completely sure that I can hit pan on VR Nectar because I literally use this eyeshadow in every single look I do with the Sublime palette, and I often pulled out this palette to pair it with other palettes because I want to sprinkle VR Nectar over top of everything. Then the last topper shade, and the one that I'm sort of disappointed in, and is this shade here, the VR Astral Orchid shade. I've talked about this shade before in videos, but in case you haven't... Well, excuse you. Hello. Did you want to say hi? A very loud cat came to visit. Anyway, so I don't like this shade, is what I wanted to say. I am going to use it. I am going to use it as a topper shade. I'm going to try to use it on its own, but it has an extremely dry texture and just does not hold a candle compared to the other three shades, and especially VR Nectar, which is the other like more toppery duochrome type of shade, because these two are super opaque. They're considered toppers, but honestly they're super opaque. They can be used on their own, and these two can definitely be used on their own, don't get me wrong, but I think these two are really meant to be layered over top of other eyeshadows. I think this shade falls short in terms of quality, or there's something about the texture of this eyeshadow that I personally really dislike. I am going to use it though. I don't think I'm going to be able to pan it because I don't enjoy using it. So let's see. Perhaps if I'm very persistent I will be able to make a small dent in this pan, but I don't expect much from it. One quick thing that I wanted to throw in, a way for me to not get bored with these shades is to use cream eyeshadows as basis for them so that I can change their tones a little bit. Just as a quick example, I wanted to show you this one from Kiko Milano. This is the long-lasting This is the stick eyeshadow in the number 10 from Kiko Milano, which is a gorgeous green shade. It looks like this. And what I particularly like to use this shade for is the green duochrome shade in the Sublime palette, so this one over here. And the thing is, if I use this shade on its own, it has a very smoky base, it has a very dark base. However, if I put this underneath it, then I immediately intensify the green tones of the eyeshadow, so you can see how I immediately can get a different effect from this eyeshadow depending on what I use it over. So that's definitely one way that I have found that makes playing with this palette a little bit more interesting and different and versatile, and that is playing up on the undertones of a lot of these eyeshadows by using them over top of cream eyeshadows. This is where I stand currently with my project pan of the Sublime palette from Pat McGrath. I think I'm doing pretty well so far. I've been able to use this palette I think at least once a week in the past month and a half. There was a period there where I wasn't using the palette, but that's because I had just given birth to a baby and I just wasn't doing makeup at all. But since then I think I've been pulling out this palette to play with it quite on a regular basis. I still enjoy doing so, and I hope that that will continue onwards until the end of this project pan. So I think that's pretty much it. It's going to be just a short update video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm very curious to hear what you think about my progress. So let's talk about it in the comment section below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!